All right, then the broadcast has started. Thank you guys for once again enjoying, me and Ken here on Breaker Debates to sit here and talk about movies and television shows and just all types of media that we find quite enjoyable. As you read in the title, this is the 31st episode, and we are going to be talking about one of the best action sci-fi series that's ever came out, The Matrix.
Dun, dun, dun.
So, King, go ahead and let me know what your thoughts is on The Matrix and what you didn't like about it, what you did like about it, and what you expect in the near future if they decide to want to do something.
I think they will do another movie. I'm pretty sure they're going to do another movie. But we have The Matrix. Came out in 1999. Mm-hmm. I remember when this movie came out, and I really wasn't that interested in seeing it. And I was working... where was I working at? I was still working on my regular job, and I had a part-time job. And one of the guys said, "You know what? You're off on this day. Let's go see the movie. You'll be blown away." And I remember watching that movie, and my jaw hit the floor. I was like, "What the heck? That was awesome! Mind-blowing. Graphically, the everything about that movie was just blew you away."
Yep.
Characters,
it was one of
the story, the visuals, the cinematics on it, the soundtrack. I have the soundtrack. I own the soundtrack to that movie. It was just mind-blowing. Yeah. I couldn't believe I just watched that, and I wanted to see it again. I've probably seen that movie like 100 times now. And then they came out with part 2, which was the Reloaded, only a few years later, 2003. And in the same year, with only a few months difference, they released the third part, which is Matrix Revolutions. All these movies tie together very well. They created something what was called bullet time.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm talking about that.
If you ever watched if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen what I'm talking about, if you, let's say, throw together, like Hong Kong action films, some of the anime stuff, but put it to real life. If you're familiar with what cyberpunk is, you can put all these together and cram it into a movie, and that's what you get in The Matrix. Very, very phenomenal movie. And I recommend also, was it called they did a kind of like in between Matrix Reloaded and Matrix Revolutions, they released a DVD. And it had like 9 stories based on the Matrix series and very different styles. Some of it was animated, some of it was live action, some of it was a little bit of both. I mean, very good. And if you want to know what happened prior to the Matrix, one of those stories in there covers that in a very cool animated style. And it's like Japanation, and I mean, it's really, really cool. But you learn a lot about the Matrix prior to the actual movie itself, kind of like precursor to Star Wars. You learn everything that happens beforehand, and it is awesome, very phenomenal, mind-blowing movie. It's what Star Wars did in 1977, but make it 1999 and combine it all together. Just epically mind-blowing. I mean, I was so just in the moment. Now, originally it was the Wachowski brothers that did it, and for those who do not know, they're no longer the Wachowski brothers. They're just the Wachowskis. Because one of the brothers decided to gender bend a little bit. So now it's just the Wachowskis. But this is probably their most known piece of cinematic art. Just so many different technologies were created to make that movie. It just craziness.
Yeah. The Matrix is definitely one of the movies that revolutionized like film.
It did. You saw so much created in that movie. Some of the scenes. I know if you watch some of the stuff about the movie, like the little expanded storylines and stuff like that. In the original Matrix movie, there's a scene where they go to the bad guys to save Morpheus, the leader. Yeah. And they have this insane scene, a fight sequence that just like they were telling how long it actually took to set it up. It was something like 16 hours of preparation, and they had one take to make it. And they went through and they did it all in the first take. Mind blowing, just craziness. And the kung fu scene, the very first time you see where they go into their virtual world and learn how to train, and you have that kung fu scene, and they do that really wide cinematic screen, and you have Morpheus and Neo in there, just crazy. You're just like, whoa.
Yes.
And I don't think you get the same experience if you watch it at home unless you, get one of those ginormous, TVs, like 108-inch Panasonic or something, because you just can't garner the scale of how big that scene just boom, it sticks out to you, and it catches you, and it sticks in your head forever.
Mm-hmm. And I think what makes it and besides the two main things that made it was the story, which is a really good story, and the visuals.
Oh, yeah.
Those are like the two main things.
The story was so original.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, we may go into spoilers, so if you don't want to know and get spoiled on a movie that's like almost 20 years old, don't listen any further. If you haven't seen The Matrix by now, you should have already seen it, and if you don't, you're going to go see it after we talk about it.
Yes, because it's a great watch.
It is a game-changing movie of its time, and it still affects movies even nowadays. You still see the slow motion scenes, you still see the 360 cam, you still see bullet time, you see all these things, but they've now expanded it into other things, bladed weapons, and like a scene out of Hansel and Gretel, the movie with Jeremy Renner in it.
Yeah,
you see the when he throws the axe at the witch, and you see that spin of the blade and the detail of it.
Yeah, and kind of how the camera follows it.
Exactly, it all came from the Matrix. Such groundbreaking things. But when you see the movie and you get into the story of basically, and strangely, I was just talking about this at work too. Getting into the whole movie realm of the human race and the robots. We've seen this kind of thing all over again. We've seen it in Battlestar Galactica. Humans create artificial intelligence turns on their masters and then almost wipes them out, and we save the world. Similar concept, but we go so much deeper into this one.
Yeah. And like in the Terminator, we thought that Terminator was going to be the only way we was going to see, mankind versus machines.
Exactly. And
then what happened?
And in this one, it's not even there is physicality here, but for the majority of the movie, it is a virtual world that the human mind enters and is allowed a construct, a world that you can interact with, that you physically feel, because it's directly tied into your brain. So everything everything is really electrical impulses anyway. Mm-hmm. You're a walking water computer. So they take that one step further and put your mind into a virtual world. But everything that you see, feel, touch, and taste is just like it's right there.
Yep.
And so you take the artificial intelligence, and they get beat up and torn apart, and they finally just decide to say the word no.
Mm-hmm.
And from that point, the humans and the machines fought. And they fought a very nasty war. And the humans were losing because machines are machines. They don't care. They just keep going, just like the Terminator. So the humans did one thing. The machines were dependent on solar power. And so the humans went and blacked out the sun.
Yeah,
thus kind of creating our startup of the Matrix. Why did they create this world? It's because they needed humans for what? The simplicity of a battery.
Yeah.
Humans are the new power source. Granted, one person's not a whole lot of power, but when you have billions of people strapped together, they make a lot of go-go juice. And that's where we end up into the movie. You learn over time that humans are basically giant batteries, and they're being used and grown and replicated, and the humans that die are turned into goop to feed the new humans. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You're like, what? What is going on here? And everything that everything that a character in this movie, everything that they knew like the character Neo is blown away. He just doesn't understand. He doesn't process this until it actually happens. And he has to make a decision where you get the red pill or the blue pill. Do I want to go further down the rabbit hole, as they say in the movie, and see how the big picture is? Or do I want to say, screw it, forget everything, I'm happy the way life is? That's like a life decision, you know. And the world he enters is beyond his brain capacity. It just, boom, everything you know is a lie. And that's where we're at. That's where you see the Matrix. It's the machines versus the humans in both the physical world and the, I don't know, say virtual world.
Yeah. And it's cool the fact that they're taking the battles are being fought in both worlds.
Exactly. You have the reality of the humans, the few humans, probably less than maybe 10,000, maybe a little bit more. They never really say.
Yeah.
That survived this war and have lived underground where it's still warm because the top of the surface of the earth is just destroyed. Mm-hmm. There's no saving it. They don't know how to undo it because I think it was 400 years.
I think it might have been longer than that, actually.
I think it was some time. It was a lot of time between the solar world, because they think it's 1999, and it's actually like 23 something or 24 something. So, you know, they're still trapped back in 1999 with other stuff. But then you come to the real world and you're like, what? What? We have flying cool stuff.
Yeah.
I thought that was all science fiction.
Mm-hmm.
But the story kind of follows Neo and his team as they try to sort through both the virtual worlds and the real world, trying to stop the machines at all cost. And it's basically the same thing has been happening. The machines have gotten smarter. They're kind of figuring out where they're at.
Yep.
We have a traitor in our midst who's kind of ratted us out a little bit in the human world. And everything is basically, it's the big gameplay.
I think that's pretty telling, too. That, you know, it kind of shows you that not all of humanity is united.
No, but even in the machine world in this thing, that's the other thing. Machines have evolved to a point where when we see most of them in the case, they're in the virtual world. They're programs. They may not even be a physical computer or a physical entity mechanically in the real world, but they're artificially intelligent creatures or critters, humans, as they look like, in that world. And they have some feel sympathy towards the human race. Some don't agree with the fact that they're using humans as slaves and power sources and all. You know, they have developed their own emotional sense of right and wrong. You know,
and I like that too.
And that was an interesting twist. You know, when you start getting into Reloaded, you start learning
more about the Matrix itself.
Exactly. You learn a lot about it. You learn about those programs that have become stuff. We have the Oracle, who we've just introduced in the very first movie.
Yep.
You know, it's telling Neo he's special and all these things. And to make it interesting, you throw in the computerized version of powerhouses, you know, like warlords and stuff that, you know, we control. And then we have our friend Agent Smith, one of my favorite characters in the movie.
Yep.
Because through no chance of his own, I mean, he already kind of hated humanity anyway. And he hated us so much that he would do anything to get rid of us. But he has a computer program, and he knows that, you know, we're still needed to basically keep him alive.
Yep.
But our good guy Neo learns the fact that he's different, he's unique. He has that rare ability that he can actually see the Matrix for what it is. And in discovering that, he's able to bend the rules and break the rules of the virtual world, and is able to get rid of our friend Agent Smith.
Yep.
But we find out what happens. What? The day is saved. Neo saves the day, gets rid of our bad guy, only to be found out that Agent Smith is now back.
Yep.
This time he's back, and he's different.
And I think that's with him coming back and having that little chat with Neo before the Burly Brawl fight, which was one of the best fight sequences.
Oh, that was really awesome.
But that little speech that he gave was actually pretty cool. And I like how casual they were about it.
Yeah. You know, and the fact that now Agent Smith is kind of like the computerized version of Neo.
Mm-hmm.
He's no longer bound by the ties of the programs. He's free to roam around too, and his goal is to get rid of everybody one way or another by replicating himself like a virus.
Yep.
And now he's gathering power and strength, even though even the machines are trying to fight him, but they just don't know how. But here's the thing I was talking about the other day. Now we go to the machines. We know the machines have become sentient and they don't agree, and the humans don't agree. So they're kind of both on the same team. They just want a good existence. They need people to power them. People need to be free to live their lives as they need to. But now you have a common enemy, Agent Smith, and his way of doing things. But for some reason, after we learn about the architect, who's kind of basically in control of everything, like a control program, and you have the Oracle, who's kind of precognitive and learns everything, but you get into a system where they know that every so often there's going to be a glitch, a hiccup, a burp, and they call that basically the chosen one, somebody who can see it for what it is. But they have to make a choice. Sacrifice themselves to reset the system. They know the program has some kind of a mathematical flaw or some kind of flaw that they can't fix. And the only way it seems to fix itself is that random, every so often, however often it happens, individual who has to come and sacrifice themselves to either let the system crash and humanity and machines all perish eventually, or sacrifice themselves for the greater good of allowing humanity to be done and the system to reset. Very interesting. A choice. There's something that computers can't do. They just don't understand it.
I think that's another good thing about the series, especially when it comes to the story, is the fact that it is based around choices.
It is. The whole thing is, will Neo accept reality that he's been in, or will he accept the reality of the truth? The red pill, blue pill. Will all the characters, like Morpheus, who had so much faith that Neo was the one to fix it, he was willing to sacrifice his life for it. Trinity had her doubts. Of course, our side characters, Tank and Dozer and APOC and Cypher, Mouse, all these side characters really never got to discover anything. Unfortunately, they were taken out.
Yeah. Yes.
But
I want to. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
I wanted to ask you. Okay, who are your favorite characters? And we're just going to stretch out through all three movies. Who are your favorite characters?
I like the Oracle.
Mm-hmm.
I liked Neo. And I liked Agent Smith as probably my top three. And then, of course, supporting characters, Morpheus and Trinity, of course.
Yes.
But I liked the Oracle because of the style of the character.
Yeah.
We didn't have an overpowering character. We just had somebody who just kind of had that uniqueness, that flair of a character in there that added to the story. They weren't overpowering. It's kind of like adding a dash of soy sauce to your fried rice. You're not drowning it out. You're just adding a little extra there, and it gives you a little extra flavor. But they don't saturate the whole thing.
Yeah.
Morpheus, had let's say Neo. Both Neo and Agent Smith. Both, good guy, bad guy, top two bad guys, good guys. But they both, one's a program who learned about himself and then learned more. The other one's a person who was in the fake world, learned about the real world, but had to decide the fate of both worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Dun dun dun.
Right. Absolutely right. I'm going to drop down about 5 characters, and I'm trying not to be cliche about it, but it's hard not to be. Of course, the Neo, Trinity, Morpheus, and Smith. But I really did like the Merovingian. The Merovingian, I can't remember how to say his name. That information trafficker. Yeah, the information trafficker guy.
Yeah.
Him, I did like him.
Oh, yeah. I know who you're talking about. It took me a second because I had to look at the name real quick. Yeah, he was, what movie? He was in Reloaded and Revolutions.
Yeah, I liked his character.
Yeah, he was kind of like the, it's not the train man, but, like Harriet Tubman. That's kind of what his character was playing in there, although he was very eccentric and very defensive to allow kind of program characters and programs to get away from the big world and hide. So
yeah, I like him maybe because I liked his personality. He was kind of smug, but like you said, he was eccentric, and he's like, he's so used to having his way.
Exactly, and when he can't get it,
yeah. Like I really did like that about his character.
And I was just reading about that before we got connected up too. I was trying to rehash all the characters. I mean, I could see them in my head, but I just couldn't remember all the names.
Yeah,
because it's been a while. It's been 13 years since the first movie, so
yeah.
But I still remember it. I mean, it's so vivid in my mind. I mean, I can recap the entire movie in my head, just going through everything. And another scene that topped in there where he had the trainman, which was running the back and forth. They had where Neo meets the family, the little family of computer programs, that's being smuggled away, and they had a little kid computer program, and it just, how he learns that the computers actually have just more than just hatred for humans. They're worried about themselves. They're trying to get themselves away from the bad stuff that's about to happen.
Yeah, and it's like the computers have their bit of humanity too. And that sequence with that family showed that.
Yeah, they had evolved. They had basically as humanity over the last several hundred years, valued. I mean, they created their own program, basically had kids. They had a world, they had a structure, they were basically living entities except in the digital world. And we see that with the architect, basically how he handled things. I mean, he had followed everybody all their lives. I mean, he knew everything about everything, but he wasn't allowed to interfere.
Yep.
The Oracle was, sitting there and basically giving guidance, between the two. They were kind of like the controls of the whole world. The whole goal was to basically garner somebody to reset the system so that everything happens the way it's supposed to, like every time it's happened before. But Neo was different. Neo was even more different than they had expected. And it ended up to be at least the end of the war, because at the end, I think they agreed on peace, basically, and they offered any human who didn't want to be in the Matrix freedom.
Yeah.
But, at the very end of the movie, we see Neo being taken away by the machines to something. They never say what. That's why I wish we could get the fourth movie and wrap it all and see what happens. I wish they would do it, but I don't know. I mean, they could even do it as an animated series, but I know everybody's all become big and bad now, so it's like, do they really want to come back and do it? Because they were not so big at the time that was out. This is kind of precursor to fame on most of these characters and actors and actresses. So
this is what I do want to see the Matrix as kind of a series, but I don't want it to start off as big, as huge as the Matrix films did. It'd be nice to see a character who's trying to come out of the Matrix, maybe in a previous like Matrix like lifetime or whatever.
Precursor to the Matrix movies?
Yeah, and like one of the other times of the one or whatever.
Like more of an animated series or a live action series precursor to the
live
Matrix?
Action series. And that'll give us more depth about,
It would.
Yeah, totally
like that. Totally agree.
Yeah. And that's why I would like to see follow one character in the Matrix, follow characters outside of the Matrix, and give us, a bit of possibly, going on with the machines on their side, or even continue the Matrix series. In fact, if they do continue the Matrix series, but make it seem like, there's a faction of robots or machines that want to disrupt the peace or something. Have like the secret war going on, possibly.
Like the Resistance in any of the movies we've seen.
Yeah. Like, what I mean? Just break it down. Like we've seen in the movies, there are other factions than just humans and machines.
Do you think a Matrix series today would have the same impact as the movies would have been in 1999?
I wouldn't say right off the bat. It has the potential to actually build to that point, but that's definitely going to have to. The writing is going to have to be on point. That's like the one thing that they're going to have on point is the writing.
Because as we've already said, visually, this movie is the game maker for pretty much most of the stuff we've seen since 1999. So visually, I don't think... I mean, they would have to do something mind-blowing.
Yeah.
I mean, story writing would be awesome. You have to have a good writer. You have to have a good story. And you can't hold a show even with the effects of even current now.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, you would have to, really, because everybody would already be expecting that style, that visually groundbreaking something. But even if they didn't do that, you still have to have a good storyline to follow.
Another thing that I just thought about too, why not revamp the movies? Do like they did with the From Dusk to Dawn series movies. They took the first movie and stretched it out into a 2-season series. They were telling the same story, but they added more to it. Why not just go ahead, revamp the Matrix series, make it the first film or whatever, make it an entire series, give us backstory, how Neo is all of a sudden starting to see the world as different. You know what I'm saying?
Basically, kind of cover his time from learning who he is, and then really cover how he learns how to be how he is.
Yeah, and find out how Morpheus and Trinity actually find him, but how he became. You know what I mean? Give us
kind of like exactly. It's kind of like a before. I had a good word for that, and I can't even think of it now. But yes, I would, the kind of how it became, but behind the scenes.
Yeah.
How did they figure out Neo was the guy? How did they set up their stuff? How did they meet up, kind of like the rebooted Star Trek series, how did they, everybody kind of met up differently because time had changed. But in this case, we're not changing the timeline. We're just seeing what happened precursor to the Matrix. And then a little bit after the Matrix, you could do season 1 prior to. We have the events of the Matrix. We go back to, well, actually the time frame is pretty tight though to really do that. It would have to be a precursor to the show.
Yeah.
Because the time frame would be very, very tight unless they wanted to pick up like some of the other, ship captains and stuff and things that they were doing at the same time. You could do a whole kind of like what Rogue One is now, or Rogue One will be in December 4th, is kind of the in between. But we're not losing any time. We're just sticking on a certain time period. That could work. That could easily work.
That's what I was like. That's what I'm like thinking. Like because I'm thinking, how would they introduce a 4th movie?
I think a crossover would definitely be necessary. Kind of like, we were talking a couple weeks ago with Clone Wars and between episode 4 and 5, basically, where the Clone Wars fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
We would have to do something in the Matrix series much like that. I mean, I think a lot of they kind of filled in some of those gaps that we didn't know with that DVD, that precursor DVD, which I was trying to find the name of it. I think it was it The Matrix Online or Enter the Matrix? Enter the Matrix is what it was called.
Oh,
it had all the 9 stories. Well, the game had it too.
There was the Animatrix.
And I own it too. That's a sad thing. Matrix DVD. I'll find it in a minute. But yeah, that thing was pretty cool. Matrix DVDs. Love the internet. You can find anything and everything out there perfectly fine. But of course, today Ken can't find stuff because he's retarded or something. It's pretty sad. Pretty sad. I'm one of the people that can find like everything. But anyway, there could be a very easy to do a series like that. We could sit there and find and you could even do it for the machine side too.
Yeah,
kind of like with Battlestar Galactica. Animatrix is what it was called.
yeah, the Animatrix. I like the Animatrix. It was pretty good.
Yeah, that was a very good surprise. It gave us a lot of precursor to the story because they didn't have a lot of time to tell the story. I mean, we literally run into the Matrix in progress, basically. You know, war's been brewing, and it's crazy. People are dying. They're trying to figure out who is the man, the myth, the legend, and it is. Oh, I love all the stories. Some of the animation in there, I mean, you could even tell it was actually, yes. I thought it was actors.
Yeah, I already know which one you're talking about, too.
Exactly. And you're like, what? But they, I think it's Final Flight of the Cyrus is the one I'm trying to think of. But
yeah, that's the almost live action one. Like
I thought it was two people. I mean, I literally did. I was like, just that blown away. And that the style of animation I've never seen matched except for the Final Fantasy movie, which is really hard to tell that they were even animated to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Like that was great.
And it was great because they gave us a bunch of different stories too. Like the haunted house one was really cool. If you remember that one, where the little kids found basically a glitch in the Matrix that gravity was not working right.
Oh yeah, I do remember that. That was actually pretty interesting.
And then they came in and cleaned up and fixed the problem. You had them trying to notify the human, trying to notify Zion that the machines are coming, and they're drilling through the ground, and they all get wiped out. A lot of different things in there, a lot of different storylines, and all of it kind of plays into bringing that story to you. In some cases, more of a precursor, but still very awesome. And the animation was phenomenal. Yes, and it was different types of animation too. It wasn't just all CGI or anything. I mean, they had everything from high end to like Batman animated series style.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool series, and I would definitely like to see. I think I would really kind of like Battlestar Galactica, where you got a little bit of the Cylon storyline and learned a little bit behind the scenes.
Yep.
I would like to see that machine version of the Matrix. Put the humans in there as secondary characters and put the machines number one and see, from their perspective, how things went.
Yeah, like we're going to do this, run separate storylines. Let us know what the machines are thinking, because not all machines are bad. Just like, again, humans aren't all good.
Exactly.
We can get a perspective from both sides of this war. I want to ask you this. Which movie do you think was the best? Like, which one is your favorite?
The one that sticks with me the most is the original. The Matrix itself is the one that just stuck with me all the way through. I can watch it repeatedly and not ever look back. I still like parts of Reloaded and Revolutions, especially some of the big battle scenes in Revolutions at Zion, where you had the big mechs and all the Nebuchadnezzars and all getting in there.
Yeah.
Those scenes catch my eye and I remember them well, but what stuck in my head was the original Matrix. Boom. It's just hard for me to walk away from that.
I really enjoyed the Matrix Reloaded because it showed, maybe because I'm such a movie buff, I love depth. Like, if you have a story, I want to know more about it. And I think Reloaded did go more into it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You learned a lot more about the machines. You learned about them becoming more, I want to say, giving them a human face over their time.
You learn more about.
You learned that not all of them are bad.
That's the one. I think that's what sticks. And then I think it has actually some of the most memorable, action sequences. I know the other all the movies have really memorable.
Oh yeah, the motorcycle chase scene with the what were they? The twins. What did they call them?
I just know they were twins.
Yeah, they had the twins. They were interesting characters. Granted, they were just not thrown out there as something. They were more just, evil henchmen, go get them.
Mm-hmm.
They made it memorable enough for you to remember them.
Yeah.
But, that was pretty much all they were there for.
And that'd have been another thing. If they had a television series, you get more depth from them.
Exactly. What are they? Where did they come from? Why are they there? Why do they work for him?
Mm-hmm. And of course, you had the. I think probably the most memorable fight throughout the whole series is the Neo versus all the Smiths, the Smith clones.
Yep, that was a pretty wild ass fight there. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And you saw a lot of the old kung fu style movie right there too.
Yes.
Standing on riding that pole and spinning around, knocking everybody out. And you got to think, just at that time, we're talking 1999. We're not even talking Transformers and 2013 computer power. We're talking 1999 computer power, rendering thousands of Agent Smiths, each with a different look, action, effect. I mean, it was just crazy, all the stuff that was there, that was going on. And I seen it from a technical standpoint. Mind-blowing. Very mind-blowing.
Yes. I know one thing that I kind of wanted to... a lot of people say that the third movie isn't as good as the first two. And I disagree, although I do understand where they're coming from. Because there are certain sequences in the third movie that feel a bit suppressed and feel a bit repetitive. Like, the first sequence in the first film where they went into that building, they had to fight all the security guards and stuff.
Yep.
That was original, memorable. Then you had the chateau sequence in the Matrix Reloaded, where Neo was fighting the Merovingian henchmen.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty original, and pretty memorable. And then the one sequence where Trinity, Morpheus, and I think the guy's name was Ghost.
Yes.
No, it was Seraph. That's right. And Seraph, they went to go talk to the mirror. Yeah, they went to go talk to the Merovingian to get Neo back. And in that whole sequence where they were fighting the security guards,
mm-hmm.
It was interesting, but it didn't stand out.
No, because we had already seen something close to it already.
And just like I think it was one missed opportunity they had in the film was when Smith kind of had Seraph against the wall before he assimilated him. Like, I would have liked Seraph actually to fight, because Seraph has his reputation in the movie for being this really one of the few guys the agents can't really get with.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to see that, especially since he was able to kind of hold his own against Neo.
Yep. What made him different? He's a program, but why? What was he different?
Yeah. And I think that was kind of one of the missed opportunities. Now, one of the standout things they did, fights that did put into the movie, was the whole Zion battle.
Oh, yeah. That was pretty epic, though. That was very epic, just in having all the big monster drilling machines punching through, and then they just start lighting them up. And you start seeing all them sentinels pulling through like a hornet's nest, and they have all that freaking firepower just trained on that hole. And they're like, give them everything you got.
Yes. That was pretty epic.
And then watching everybody get dropped, and then you have the guys in that little room where the big mech was, and they kept having the ammo guy run. You open the door, and he got snatched off right now there, and he goes, all right, we'll go again. And they're like, what? We got to go. You see everybody putting everything they got into it,
I got to give it to Captain. I got to give it to Captain Malfuni. His final stand was he went ham. Before he got killed, he went off.
Yeah,
there's one great shot where the camera is panning up, and you can see he's like the last machine, the last soldier left.
Yep, last mech standing.
Yeah, he's just sitting here, just tagging all these guys, these machines and stuff. Even when his final stand, when all the machines rushed him at once. Like, and he was a great character too. And I'm glad that he had his moment in the third movie.
Yeah, like bring it on, let's go. Even a little kid that went with him too, because they all basically bit the bullet at the same time.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Because the kid, ended up climbing on there and reloaded him even though it jammed. The kid climbed up on top of it to get that thing running.
Mm-hmm.
So very insane.
I got to give it to another sequence that they did. In fact, I don't care what nobody say. I like all three movies. To me, they're all equal. They just have different. They have different aspects to them, but I still like all three of them equally. And one of my favorite sequences and one of my favorite characters, it put her on the spot. Was Niobe. She's one of my favorite characters, although she does not get the screen time that I think she should have had. But the sequence when they accidentally come across the army of Sentinels that are drilling,
mm-hmm.
and next you know, it turns into this big chase sequence where I think she's flying the hammer.
I think so, yeah. I think that was her.
And then all of the crew are on manning the guns and stuff, and all of these Sentinels are chasing them and attacking them, and she's like just driving all Fast and the Furious like in this mechanical tunnel, and she's so good. She's the only pilot that can do that, and you actually see her skills.
Yep, they give you more drop into the character. That was pretty wild scene. I do remember that one. You're like, what the heck is going on?
The favorites. You all right, buddy?
Well, I'm glad they had the EMP was very interesting as well.
Mm-hmm.
When they in a very beginning movie they used the EMP, and they used the EMP throughout the whole movie series. But you would think the machines would have been smart enough to, get past that point. Why didn't they ever figure out how to do it?
See, the only time that they showed it wasn't because of the machines. It was because of Smith. Because if Smith hadn't have done what he did, then the machines wouldn't have got that far that fast.
No, they were still. I mean, they've been looking for him for 400 years. But basically, as I said, as the Oracle had said, though, they rebuild it. They rebuild their world, reboot the world. They rebuild Zion. They're all symbiotic on each other. The machines would find them, kill them, do whatever they do, come back, and form a new colony later on, and then the system would go back again. It was like a continuous cycle. They couldn't break the cycle until Neo came along, and then the cycle got broke.
All right, let me ask you this. What did you think about the casting? Like, was there any person that was cast that you're like, I'm not too sure about them? Or, honestly, Hugo Weaving played a perfect Smith.
Well, we never really had something to compare it to. It wasn't like, are we casting for Batman or Iron Man? I mean, you had a movie that had never existed. And so you have to bring in characters that bring depth. And Hugo Weaving was a great character for what he did for Agent Smith. He plays a very good bad guy. He played the Red Skull. He's played many other movies, not so much as a good guy in a lot of them. But he fit the bill of the character. I think he brought the character to life. He did. Just his whole style with it was just caught my attention.
You think Keanu Reeves was played a good Neo? Because originally, for those who don't know, the role was actually going to go to Will Smith. Was supposed to go to Will Smith. But I think they did a great job. Yeah, I think they did a great job casting Keanu Reeves, though.
I don't think Will Smith would have been. No, I can't see him in that style of movie. No, I can't do it. Keanu Reeves was a good choice, comparatively speaking. I like the fact that he played a character very well. Cause we go from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure to Saving the World style. I mean, as an actor, he's grown a lot. He plays a very strong character in John Wick.
Yes,
I like John Wick.
John Wick was a great movie.
I was like, dang. But, for where he was at the time of his acting career, and the type of character he normally plays. I think it was a different role for him. It was something different, and taking the naive individual who really knew nothing about their world, just a little hacker programmer guy, making a living, selling bootlegged stuff, to becoming a savior character. I think he did very well. I don't think I could think of very many actors that would fit that bill well. Morpheus is well cast. I think Lawrence Fishburne did an excellent job at that.
He definitely had presence.
Exactly. He brought the presence. He brought the style of character. He brought what I would expect that character position to be. He's like the Batman. He's there. He knows a lot of stuff. He has a drive, something he wants to do, and he brought all that presence and that character to life. Excellent casting for him. The rest of our support characters, Trinity could have been anybody. I think they could have filled in that gap with probably one of maybe 5 people at the time. Carrie Ann Moss did a good job. But I mean, if I really thought about the actresses and actresses about the time, we might have been able to fill her in with just one of maybe 4 or 5 people.
Yeah, you know what? You're right about that. She did a good job.
Yeah, it's just
it wasn't like perfectly. She wasn't like perfectly cast.
Not like with somebody. There could have been several different people. I don't really feel like that was a stickler character.
Yeah, you're right.
Memorable. I mean, yeah, she died tragically. Yeah, her character did what she was supposed to. Yeah, that kind of sucked. But a necessary action in the movie.
She went out like a soldier. We'll give her that. She did go out like a soldier.
She got that one moment of sunlight and said, "Oh, look, the sun." Dead.
The first human to see like the sun.
Nobody in 400 years has seen the sun.
Yes.
And boom, you get that just a few moments before all hell breaks loose.
Mm-hmm.
In any of the supporting characters, I really didn't. It could have been anybody. I mean, we could have thrown anybody in there. So, I mean, our main characters, I think, were cast well. Like I say, Trinity could have been anybody.
What about the dude that played the programmer, the architect?
The architect? I'm trying to remember where I know him from. I mean, he carried the character, but again, it's so hard to say. We don't have. There's no reference to it. I mean, you can go with what you would expect somebody to be like, but it's not like we have anything to reference. That's what's so hard sometimes to judge a character. I mean, did he do the role? Yes. Is he memorable? Yeah. To me, yes.
Yeah, he was. He was one of. I got to give it to that dude. He like owned it. For him to only have dialogue and not really do anything.
Yeah, but exactly. It's like listening to Orson Welles talk. You don't worry about him acting; it's talking.
And he
carried that voice, and I remember him. Just like the Oracle. Could have been anybody else, sure, but for her, she had a more performance role in this, and it was so casual of a character, yet had so much impact in the movie.
You know what? I would have liked to see more interaction between those two.
Yes, we see something at the very end. That's about it, though. We never really see them.
Like maybe between these two characters, this is kind of like a game going on.
Yes, that's exactly what I thought. One basically kind of guided the system to reboot, and the other one controlled the system to reboot. So it's the characters that really stuck with me did their job. Again, we had nothing to compare it to. I mean, you can always say, well, he makes a really good bad guy. Well, what are you looking for in a bad guy? I mean, in this case, we're supposed to be dealing with computers or programs and human race. You have such the same, you still have bad guys, but what do you expect out of a bad guy? What do you expect out of a good guy? In this case, we have a kid who has no knowledge of anything, is ignorant to the world, and he gets thrown into something that's just, by our standards, unimaginable.
Yes.
What? Everything I know is a lie? Everything that I've ever seen or done or ate or tasted was a lie?
Yeah.
complete fabrication, a prison of the mind, as Morpheus says. You're in a prison of your own mind. Deep, man, just boom, you just felt your brain explode when he's sitting there watching the TV and explaining how the world is what it is in the construct.
Yep.
It just blew your mind because you can't process that. You can't, you try to put yourself in these characters' feet and you're like, really? So everything, then you think about it in reality and you're like, what if that's right? What if that's actually, what if it's true? What if everything I know is a lie? What if I'm in some goo somewhere, in a dead world? It made you think. And that's one of the things that caught my attention about that movie. You sat there and you thought about, well, what if? What would you do in their positions? Yeah. You're always...
I think one of my favorite sequences in the movie is the sequence where Trinity is falling, right? Because she just got through fighting the agent and she jumped out the window. And Neo ends up was flying to try to catch her.
Yep.
He's had dreams that she was going to die. And then he finally catches her and they kind of have this moment together. And I don't think it quite hit the mark the way it should have. Like probably out of 100, it got to about 85 or 90. But it was still a pretty emotional scene for me because I like the characters and I like their relationship. But I think that was kind of a special moment because it kind of gives you a bit more depth to how the character of the one is, because throughout the whole movie he's capable of doing all of this really cool stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're like, there's no way you can beat him.
He has no limitation anymore because he's not confined by that world's rules.
And then he ended up saving her. He brought her back from the dead. And that just like, it's like, just, and like the dude said, I can't remember his name, the pilot guy, I can't take this.
Exactly. It's like, what?
Yeah, so I like that because it's like, okay, even though he is the one, he's still learning about himself. He's still growing. His abilities are still, because Agent Smith, same way. In the second movie, he thinks it seems like he has everything figured out. What happens in the third movie? He's got more abilities, so he's grown as a character.
Yep, they both are learning, they're both endowed with the same ability. One as a machine or a program, the other as a human, given the same ability to manipulate the Matrix with no limitation. They just have to figure out how to do it.
Yep, and they go about it enough to where they're actually equals, but at the same time have different methods.
Exactly.
Such as Smith being able to copy,
doing all his replications and creating more and more of himself.
So I honestly think they. What are your general thoughts? Having had this discussion with me about the whole Matrix series.
Well, I didn't know Will Smith was one of the candidates. That's surprising. That was a total shocker.
Will Smith is one of those actors that he's good at any role he plays, but he can play a good physical kind of role. And
he's getting stereotypical in his movies.
Yeah, and Neo is kind of a physical type character. Even though, he has his dramatic moments, it's not overly emotional.
When you see a Will Smith movie now, you're waiting for the, oh, hell no, right then and there.
Yeah, and that's one thing I thought about, when I was watching Suicide Squad. He did a great job as the character of Deadshot. Like Deadshot. He felt like Will Smith.
I liked him in iRobot.
And even with that, that's how good he's kind of like Samuel L. Jackson. Every movie Samuel L. Jackson plays in, he's going to be Samuel L. Jackson regardless of the character. You can't really get to him. You can't really get him being that character. It's more or less him. Now, there's certain movies he plays where he isn't. You can be like, okay, what's that movie? Kingsman: Secret Service.
Yeah.
He played a totally different character than he
was way different in that movie. That was kind of a weird moment there.
Yeah.
But Will Smith plays a good. Hang on, let me find the movie. I think it's 7 pounds. What is it? Yeah, 7 pounds. That's a movie that is different than most Will Smith movies.
Yeah.
That movie will catch you off guard. What's the other one? There was one more that he was in that was not your typical Will Smith movie.
Are you talking Hitch?
No, Hitch was the same him every kind of movie.
In fact, this is the best example I can say about Will Smith. When he was the same when he in Wild Wild West, he was the same as he was in Bad Boys.
Yes.
Bad Boys, he's the same as he was in Suicide Squad.
The Pursuit of Happiness. That's the other movie I was trying to think of.
I seen about a third of that movie. It was actually pretty good.
Those are the two movies that he is not the stereotypical Will Smith in. All the other movies, he has a completely, he has that same moment. I mean, he's a little more serious than iRobot, but he still has that comical side in there. And we won't even talk about that other crap-ass movie After Earth. That was a waste of space. Hancock. Loved him in Hancock, too.
I loved him in Hancock. That was another... Now, that one I actually got into the character because he wasn't a typical Will Smith.
Exactly. I mean, you had your moments, but not like all the rest of the movies. It was different.
Mm-hmm.
You're not dealing with the Men in Black or the Bad Boys or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Definitely a different style, different role. But
but we started talking about it. But yeah, do you think they can go with either a prequel to the Matrix or another sequel?
Actually, I think they need to really finish the story.
Because it did have some new scenes a little bit.
What happens? But I mean, a prequel would be great because, as we said earlier, sure, the Animatrix had some information in there, but let's go deeper. Let's dig into it. Let's see what actually kind of sparked it and see it from both sides of the coin.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would really like to know what really happened after the machines took Neo. What happened?
I think the Wachowskis did kind of tease that there was going to be a fourth film and that Neo was going to come back.
Well, he wasn't quite.
The only way I could see Neo possibly coming back.
He might come back as a hybrid human. Who knows?
Yeah, I was thinking the only way I could possibly see him returning is if they maybe copied his personality, or him like he downloaded part of his mind into the Matrix too.
Yeah, sucked him in there.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, something like that.
Well, dig this. Well, here we go. Let's do a little Matrix 4 information here. Let's see. According to this, director Joel Silver looked at doing a Matrix 4 release in 2017. Is it going to be a TV series? There was talk of a TV series here for that. Let's see what else they say about Matrix 4, though. That's what I want to know. No. They were done with a script and looking at trying to get everybody together for a filming and a 2017 release date. And that was as of a little over a year ago, which I haven't seen anything more about it, so... They were talking about making it actually... They were talking about making Matrix 4 and 5.
If they're going to... and that kind of got me worried because, you've kind of established the story, so if you're going to make a 4 and a 5, that means there got to be a bigger threat.
There's got to be another BBD,
It's got to be a bigger threat now. And that means there's got to be a threat against the machines as well as the humans. You can't just rehash it where... Well, maybe there's tension between the two now. Maybe in the fourth movie, but not a fifth one.
4 would be really pushing it. Yeah. We've seen other movie series where they've gone well beyond what they should have been. 1 or 2 movies to, give us a story, hook us, come back for round 2, but don't slam us with 3 or 4 or 5 different versions of it. You know,
I said the only way I would be back behind this because the Matrix is one of those movie series that it's a war, so it can be told from different sides, from different fronts.
Very true. Very true.
So it can have multiple stories, but I think for the most part, in that sense, the only way they can go with it at this point is a television series.
Well, they were talking about TV series up in the earlier part of that story I was reading, like a 6-part TV series. You know, not a full length. You know, like a short six episode burst, kind of as a fill in. I don't see much more on it other than they were talking about pending release in 2017. So, and that was again over a year ago. So it's not much more. Refresh on it. But we've seen Netflix bring in a lot of stuff, and they do talk about Netflix being a story of a 17-year-old girl who's addicted to online gamings and kind of ends up learning about different little things. Kind of like a third-party character, just not even any of our characters we know, just somebody completely unrelated that also discovers, that what they know is a lie and exploring it from that avenue. I mean, that could be an interesting little 6-part series if they wanted to go that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that'd be a pretty good
A different perspective. We don't have to deal with our main. I mean, they could be kind of brought up in there. Maybe she's a little hacker and learns about Neo and Morpheus and is trying to be like them, but ends up finding in her own little way things that go on.
Yeah,
that could be interesting. Absolutely. And Netflix has been very good about bringing series. I mean, they've done some pretty good stuff recently. So we're seeing, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, January Jones, and at least Daredevil, the Punisher.
Jessica Jones, you said January.
Yeah, January Jones. I don't know why. It just rhymes. It rhymes.
Oh man,
that's my faux for the day, people. My faux pas.
I know I'm gonna probably come back and be like, okay, this is what they should do with a Matrix series. I'm gonna make a different video on it because I like breaking down movies and being like, okay, they should put a series out for this. I did it for X-Men, Harry Potter, and I think Men in Black. So I'll do one for the Matrix too.
I love Men in Black.
In fact, I don't understand why that's not a series either.
No doubt. I mean, they have every bit of material to carry that on as a regular TV series for several years without even slowing down. I mean, you have all the different alien races. You have the Men in Black themselves. You could have some subplots in there trying to undermine the Men in Black. I mean, there's so much you could do with that franchise. It's not even funny.
Yeah, I know if they can make a Rush Hour series and a Lethal Weapon series, they can come out with a Men in Black.
I would rather watch Men in Black than the other two.
Yeah.
Lethal Weapon had its moments. It's done. I'm over it. I mean, not that I don't like the series, but I can't really visualize it as a regular TV series. It's kind of like they did with Blue Thunder. It was just like, here's a movie, and then we're going to make a TV series about it and keep it trucking. It's just, there's only so much of it you can handle. I mean, how many crazy cop, good cop, or straight cop shows do you need? I think the problem that we have right now is that a lot of the storylines that people are writing about, we've seen in so many layers, so many versions, that they're running out of original materials. And they really need to go back to looking at some of the more classic books, classic stuff, getting ideas from there.
What it is they're afraid to branch out with something new, so they'll go with something they know already has a following behind it.
Well, I mean, it's just a story we talked about. The Matrix. The Matrix was so groundbreaking, so different, something we'd have never thought of. Yeah, you have good guy versus bad guy, but it's the between, the fill-in, the meat of the story is what made it so attractive. And then, of course, throwing in the eye candy of visual effects and everything like that. Yeah, bring it on. Freaking awesome. But I think they're just running out of original materials to, we've invaded, they've invaded, we've both invaded, they've both lost.
Yeah.
We've had meteors hit the Earth, we've gone space exploration. I do tell you, though, actually, I'm going to give you something to watch, and then we'll talk about it. How about that?
Yeah, okay.
There was a 3-part TV series that came on Sci-Fi, and I believe it's called Ascension. And it basically encompasses in the 1960s the space program. Now it's a sci-fi, of course, but I won't spoil it so much for you. But basically, the concept is that in secret we made a spaceship, what's called a it's not a millennial ship. It's called a generational ship. So basically, the people who started on the ship will not make it to the other side, but their kids will. Yeah. That's what's called a generational ship, because they found a new Earth that they're going to be going to. And it covers what's happened on that ship. It's a 100-year trip, and it covers the life of what's gone on in that ship and how things are from the 1960s in the early space program. Okay. I think I can even give it to you on media that you can watch if you can't find it online. And let's watch that, or I'll let you watch that, and then let's talk about that next week. Okay.
I've already pulled it up. Pulled it up on Wikipedia. I'm about to look it up.
It is that to me was very original of a series, what goes on in that. And I think that could be something, or even taking that and making it in a regular series would be something worthwhile to watch too.
Yeah.
Very interesting storyline. I think you'll like it.
Oh, it's that time.
Yep, we're hitting that magic time again, folks. So if you like what you heard tonight, and you like Narik and I talking about it, and you even want to join us, now you can come to this channel, Narik Chase, here on YouTube. Like, subscribe, leave us comments. If you like the video, hit the like button. If you dislike it, here's the one thing I ask if you dislike it. Why did you dislike it? Leave us a comment. Give us some feedback. We want to make the show so much more. I mean, we've been doing this is what, our 7th show together, 8th show together?
No, more than that, actually.
Really? My brain sometimes doesn't function, but we've done a lot of shows together. I know you do stuff on the side on your channel as well. And if you like it, like it. If you don't like it, tell us why. What can we do to improve? What would you like to hear from us? Throw it out there. You know, feedback rate's great. Think of it as your channel too. If you liked it, what'd you like? Give us some feedback on it.
Yeah, because I do want to make it more where people watch it, I can interact with them more. And I know one thing I need to get is a camera.
Yes, we would like to move into the camera. I want to build like a little set here at my house, my little secret lair. Set up some really cool stuff. I got a lot of little things that would be great for a backdrop. And definitely would like to get us into the video. So,
all right then, guys. It's about that time. You heard what me and Ken had to talk about, the Matrix. Leave us some comments in the comment section below. Remember, share, subscribe, and do what you do best. Watch us and enjoy our content. And until the next edition of the Breaker Debates, guys, Narik Chase, Ken Phillips, we're signing out.